Hey, this is Jardy from Yatahay Fine Woodcraft. Just finished up my 2014 reorganization, cleaning up of my shop, so I figured I'd give y'all a little bit of a tour of the place. Anyway, start here. This is, of course, is my clamp racks, and never have enough clamps, of course, as we all like to joke and say. And you got to figure out where you're going to hang the stupid things. And then this is my charging station for my cordless stuff, and planning on putting a couple more shelves right above that for some other odds and ends I'd like to get out and have a little bit easier at hand. This little corner shelf is where I keep my routers and the cordless tools that I'm using all the time. I've got a bunch more cordless stuff stored, and Forstner bits and spade bits, and also where I plug in my phone for charging and playing Pandora when I'm out here in the shop working. And this pegboard behind the little drill press is where I keep my spring clamps and parallel clamps and a few other odds and ends, my pneumatic nail guns and such. Little drill press I picked up at Pawn Shop for $40. Little Ryobi 10-inch. Does a good job. It's just it's the workhorse of one of the biggest workhorses of the shop. And then down below, of course, I have this little cabinet that I built that are little drawers for drill bits and such. Down below here is I keep my sanders and biscuit joiner and such down there, and then saws and more cordless stuff that goes in that one. And over here is kind of just cubby holes for putting stuff, and all extra dust collection fittings in the bottom one, and another little catch-all in the other one. And of course, come over here, and this is my 1220 jet wood lathe, and it's got this little cubby hole that I push it back into when I'm not using it, and pull it out and clamp it to the bench and such when I'm doing stuff. And above it, I've got, this came out of my old shop when I moved up from Fort Pierce, and it's a kind of little, used to be just a simple bench top unit. Another unit I'll show you, say it fit underneath it, but I kind of adapted it for here, just kind of one of them catch-alls. And of course, the one of my wood plane collection up here, and about half of them I have restored, and like my here, got restored new blades and stuff like that in it. So down below I've got this, the other half of that cabinet that came out of Fort Pierce, and down below it I'm about ready to start another little project. I'm going to add another drawer below it to replace some drawers I had to do away with while I was but I have all my metal files and chisel storage, and then this just kind of all my pieces and parts kind of end up there. And going around, of course, I don't have any real high dollar router bits, but I got a couple of these little smaller kits, but they work fine for what I do. And go there, and then all of my measuring tools and a few other odds and ends that I keep right at hand that I'm always grabbing, and they're all hanging up on the wall. And then my little Grizzly whetstone grinding rig, grinder polishing wheel course. And then top of my bench, I've got dust ports plumbed in, one for the sander, and then there's another one back behind the lathe, and they're just mounted directly on it with a pipe running underneath. And over here you've got my dust collection, and of course runs across the ceiling. And then there's the separator, and I just finished up a project this past weekend. This cow, I got a little bit more work to do to it. I might insulate the door on it, but this is where I keep my blower, and it's actually surrounded by 2 inches of foam for trying to cut the noise down a little bit on it. It's vented up underneath the bench top and then down at the bottom also, so really helps with noise in the shop. And then this here is a little project that's in the works, but I got it at least where I could store the planer on it. There's got its little cubby hole under the bench, so it's out of the way when I'm not using it. It rolls out, and it's actually connected to the dust collection system all the time. Made a custom gate on it. It came plumbed for 2.5 inch, but I've adapted it over so it goes 4 inch to try to get the most out of the dust collection. I'm planning on making the top is just sitting on it. It's going to be made to be telescopic, to where it'll actually rise up an additional 10 inches. That way I'm not having to lean over so far. This, of course, is one of 2 of my managers in the shop. They are in charge. If you don't think they are, you're crazy. This is Cody. And I'll swing over here in just a second and introduce y'all to Bruin. This around. And this is Bruin, who is a beast. And he is, they're my buddies. And then these drawers here are lathe tool storage is the top one. Built these a while back. And this one here is, we've got some inexpensive chisels in there, and then some more lathe chisels. And these are some of my other odds and ends chisels and stuff that I keep. And then the bottom was also all my sharpening gear. Alright, and then around here, this of course is my router table mounted on the end of my table saw. A little Craftsman router. Does a real good job. I'm constantly modifying it and such. And then I've got my Grizzly hybrid table saw here. Absolutely thrilled with it. It does a great job for the money and everything else, and it's not quite a cabinet saw, but I'll tell you what, I couldn't be more happy with it. And then of course got my Craftsman rail arm saw. This kind of new to the shop within the last 6 to 8 months. Some of y'all that follow me on Facebook probably saw my posts about my older rail arm saw exploding into flames. And so this is the replacement for it. And then of course got my Grizzly 14-inch bandsaw here, and one of my wood racks up top here. And of course this is, I'm running my dust collection system across the room, and comes over. It's just one 4-inch pipe. I wish I'd done 6, but that worked. It works for the little shop here. This cabinet back here holds all my a lot of my machinist tools. They don't get used as much as they probably should, but part of this reorganization was to get to where I can start using them. And then pallet of particle board and plywood that I'm kind of using. I'm probably going to start thinning some of that stuff out and getting rid of it. and some pallet material that I have all planed up and ready to start working, and probably start within the next week or so. I've got a couple projects in mind for that. This is my custom-made dovetailing jig. Y'all that watch me on Facebook probably saw how irritated I was with the Harbor Freight one that I had bought, and only thing saved off of it is the of course the template. The rest of it I built and everything like that. Still got a few little refinements I'd like to make to it, and I'm not real thrilled with the wing nuts. I think I'm going to make some wooden handles for it here before long. This is my small bandsaw. Generally I keep this one with a real thin blade on it for almost scroll saw type work and such, but and it kind of sits up on that thing until I need it. It's fairly easy to move around. More pallet wood storage. These are cut-offs and small chunks of thinner chunks of pallet wood, but I'm kind of a hoarder of wood and stuff, so it's there. This little cabinet's one I built a while back. It's I'm an avid reloader, so it's my reloading cabinet. Everything gets stored in there. When I need to do some reloading, I pull the press out and mount it on the bench, and then can set it up real easy. But when I'm not doing anything, I can close that up and I don't have all the dust and everything getting in there. This is my little 6-inch jet joiner. It's on a little roll around. When I'm using it, I kind of bring it out, and I've got a little bit more work to do. This dust collection port, I just put this in. It's set up right now temporary. The blast gate's actually just acting as a plug. I've got something better in mind to do there. And then back behind that is my Atlas 12-inch metal lathe. Of course, my cord for my table saw. And then all this stuff up here is my machinist tooling, my old machinist box, and a bunch of lathe and milling bits, and a few other little odds and ends stuff back there. This thing here, I'm back up a little bit so y'all can see it completely. This is my 1942 Bridgeport milling machine, metal milling machine. And any of y'all that follow me on Facebook probably have seen my posts earlier in the year about how the knees got busted because of a mistake I made. But I've got plans probably within the next couple weeks I'm going to get started with. I'm going to build a new deck to go on top of it, so I've got some to raise and lower it, and I'm going to put the old girl back into operation. That way I've got a little one with basically a drill press with a fence and such on it, and then I'll have my little 10-inch with a just open for making it a little bit more versatile. This cabinet here, of course, is got my old Craftsman toolbox in it, and it's got all my mechanics tools and such. And then the top section here, kind of another catch-all, but I keep all my chemicals, my glue, screws, stuff like that. And then, of course, got my old snap-on clock, which doesn't work, but who cares? Been in every shop I've ever had. And then down here we've got more storage, and that's my screw storage there, little box I took out. But anyway, well, last thing, my bench, of course. You've probably seen a lot of posts here on Facebook about how I've been making this, adding to my bench. This is, of course, my old miter saw cabinet and brewing. And kind of keep my sandpaper here and a few other odds and ends. And then under the cabinet, perfect place I have found for, Cody is thoroughly inspecting everything, for my air compressor, and then I've mounted the reel in it. I've got to take a hole saw and cut a hole in the door so I can get the hose out. And then on the other side here, I took my old radial arm saw cabinet, and this is where I keep all my table saw jigs, and this is my keep my dado blades and extra saw blades and stuff. And then down below I've got my small tabletop sled, my miter sled, and my box joint jig. So, but and then these of course are all my pen making stuff. Y'all have probably seen some of my work doing pens and stuff. And their future home's going to be right down underneath those drawers there. Trying to figure out now how to modify that part of my cabinet to handle that. So, but anyway, that's my little shop. It's I'm pretty proud of it. It's packing a lot of stuff in a 20 by 20 shop, but it does the job. It's not perfect, but like it's got about everything Uncle John ever wanted in a shop. So anyway, there you go.